Vanessa Anoka is a scantily dressed witch and magic knight in the Black Bull squad. She has the power to manipulate magic thread and abuse alcohol. Beneath it all are strong feelings about family and fate. Vanessa is known to be lounging around in the Black Bull's crook wearing only her red bra and panties, though in the manga they're colored to be black, in my opinion. This speaks volumes about how she exudes confidence and is never bothered or embarrassed to be seen in her underwear, and is great fan service for the Black Clover community to boot. Too often have we anime fans dealt only with male characters with stripping hang-ups. When shopping in the city and through most of the seabed temple in which is forest art, Vanessa wears a very different but still revealing attire. Atop her pink curly hair sits a witch's hat, a Black Bull's robe covers her shoulders, and a red violet top covers not much as it slits straight down the middle. She wears an ultra short mini skirt, a small satchel for her grimoire, and completes her outfits with boots coming up to her thighs, garter belts, full-length evening gloves, also known as opera gloves. In the manga I've seen her go out on patrol wearing only a bra, panties, satchel, squad robe, and sandals. Vanessa's abilities are hugely beneficial in any group she happens to be fighting alongside. I will be covering Rogue, the Red Thread of Fate, later, but let's take a look at everything she can do from the beginning of this series. Vanessa has excellent control over her magic power, and she even offered to help Noelle control hers. She can use her magic thread to sew in midair. Excellent party trick if you ask me. Vanessa can sense strong mana from individuals and their locations. Amongst the Black Bulls, Vanessa's ability to sense mana is second only to Lux, in my opinion. She's able to steal mana from defeated opponents to replenish magic power she spent during their fight. In any fight, Vanessa's strategy is to spread her magic thread. However, in solo fights, she's specifically trying to ensnare her opponents in order to win. We've seen Vanessa use her threads defensively to block. Specifically, we saw her block against needles and even magic sound wave attacks. As aforementioned, Vanessa's at her best during group fights where she can use her magic to support her allies. By pulling her allies along with her thread, they get a significant mobility boost, making them much faster than they otherwise would be. She is also able to change their trajectories, helping them to dodge or attack from unpredictable angles. Vanessa can use her magic thread to pull multiple fallen comrades off the immediate battlefield and harm's way. Similarly, she can yank everyone out of the way of a devastating blast, from Salamander, for instance. The thread can be used like a spiderweb-shaped net to catch fallen team members. She can fling willing allies with her thread to areas they would not normally be able to reach, and if they are within range, reel them back in. With assistance from a friend, she can perform a variation of this, where she slingshots a team member at an enemy at great speed. This was the basis for Asta's Bull Thrust attack, which split Salamander in half. Her magic reminds me a lot of how Granny Chio supported Sakura with her chakra thread in their fight against the Sori. Vanessa and Finral have teamed up twice at this point, and their magic is a perfect match, especially if there is a melee or close-range fighter in their group. Vanessa is able to pull a team member into a portal to avoid an enemy's attack, or yank them out of a appearing portal for an accelerated sneak attack. Their magic, when used in tandem, is so effective it can help a close-range fighter compete with a speed-type user such as Enhancement, or maybe even Light Magic. Much of this is due to Vanessa's impressive reaction time. Once ensnared, she can control a opponent like a marionette using her dance and doll technique, though this is off-canon. However, the way she manipulates Asta shows she has the capability. She was able to support Asta's broken and cursed arm so he could continue to fight with them long past the point where he normally would have been able to on his own. This reminds me a lot of Ranzo Tengai, a Quincy technique of Iryu's from Bleach, where he used strings made of reishi to continue fighting despite being paralyzed. Just to give you a balanced view, Vanessa does have a few weaknesses I wanted to discuss. Fire attribute magic users can burn away her threads. Specifically, area of effect fire abilities can nullify her magic threads across the battlefield, so she wouldn't be very useful against Fauna Salamander or the Vermilion siblings. The Third Eye members are able to cast Self-Destructive Spear. Due to the immense magical pressure of this spell, Vanessa's magic threads don't work during its cast. Strong enhancement magic users such as Veto or Yami are able to break the threads once ensnared. Vanessa has one other major weakness. If Vanessa runs out of magic power while she's in battle, her magic threads simply break. Vanessa is one of those anime characters who loves to drink, like Kana from Fairy Tail. In the manga, she's introduced with a bottle, and in the anime, her first scene is complaining about a hangover. While arguing with other Black Bull members, she's often called a drunk. I saw Asta get hit in the head with a bottle, and I'm pretty sure that Vanessa's the one who threw it. When she sees Yami, she asks him to have a drink with her. Finn will formally introduce her, saying she'll get in your face when she's drunk, but she's a good person. Then she gets right in Asta's face, hitting on him briefly before throwing up on him promptly. How much does Vanessa drink? In this picture we can see that she's down 3 bottles of wine, I presume, in one sitting whilst hitting Finral over empty. On a sadder note, when Vanessa is doubting herself, she refers to herself as a drunk woman in her internal monologue. It has been a long time coming, but it's finally time to talk about Vanessa's true power. It is during the battle with Veto we first hear Vanessa mention moving the threads of fate. Later we hear her referring to the gods of fate. This is early in the series, and it leaves us wondering why this character cares about fate. The first time Vanessa comes face to face with the Witch Queen, the Witch Queen says if you master your thread magic, you'll be able to control destiny itself. We are told by Domino witches are skilled in curses and familiars, which leaves the viewer wondering why doesn't Vanessa have a familiar? All this is answered when Vanessa awakens her true power to save Noelle, the red thread of fate, Rogue the cat, with the power to control destiny. Rogue means red in French, by the way. The cat changes the destinies of those it touches to the caster's advantage. However, because Rogue has a will of her own based off of Vanessa's feelings, if Vanessa cares about you or shares a family-like bond with you, Rogue will take your side too and protect you also. I want to run through a few of Rogue's feats. By controlling Asta's destiny, Rogue was able to undo both Noelle and Finral's deaths. She was also able to unravel and avoid the swing of Asta's anti-magic sword, then cause him to hit himself in the head with the hilt of the Demon Slayer sword, canceling the Queen's blood magic. It is due to this unraveling ability that Rogue is resistant to physical attacks. When Rogue touches the Queen of Witches, she changes the Queen's destiny, instantly undoing the spells Puppet Blood Flow, Scaffold of Fresh Blood, and the Blood Scythe. So basically anything the Queen of Witches tries, Rogue shuts it down. Vanessa is from the Witch's Forest, a large forest down off the coast of the Clover Kingdom. It is in between the Clover Kingdom and the Diamond Kingdom, which are two nations at odds with one another. There are no men in the Witch's Forest, and it is governed by a set of rules created by the Queen of Witches. The buildings are amongst and on top of tree branches, and the buildings have pointed tops. It is protected by golems and the frightening powers of the Queen. As a child, Vanessa was kept locked in a cage, just like a bird. This was because Vanessa was a very important person to the Queen of Witches. The Queen told her she could not leave the cage until she mastered fate, and we all know how much being locked in a cage messed up from Future Diaries. This cage had to be an awfully boring place to grow up in. As far as we see, there's only a table, a chair, and a large mirror. Vanessa also dressed very reserved while in the cage. She had no friends, was completely isolated from the world, and lonely. Her world was only the inside of the cage and the overbearing will of the Queen. Vanessa spent her days talking to dolls she made with thread magic. One doll was humanoid while the other 3 were birds to be caged along with her. Eventually she stopped talking to the dolls altogether and just cried in a deep despair, feeling certain she would never be free. Never once did she try to escape, though she had pleaded with the Queen to be freed. Then, like the true future captain of the Black Bulls, a younger version of Yami shows up and breaks things. He busts a huge hole in the wall and takes out several bars of Vanessa's cage in the process. Yami is the first man Vanessa's ever seen, and after conversing with him about fate, she overcomes her doubts and escapes into the world. Vanessa went on to join the Black Bulls after that. She always held a deep respect for her captain, and even a crush. There are a few more things to go over just to illustrate Vanessa's views on family. Growing up, the Queen of Witches always said that she was Vanessa's family. Vanessa did later return to the Witch's Forest, but only because she was absolutely convinced it was the only way to heal Asta's arms and save his dream. She tried to broker a deal with the Queen, teach her to dispel ancient curses, and she'd become the slave to the Queen and live out the rest of her days in the Witch's Forest. On accident, she later revealed in front of the Queen it was her plan to escape with the help of Asta's anti-magic swords. This took a lot of guts though. She had to be afraid of both the Queen and her cage, and she even took a beating in the process. Vanessa, along with Noelle and Finral, stand their ground in the face of Final's self-destruction spear. If this self-destruction spell were to go off, they would all certainly die. According to Fanzel, this is because she believes in her friend. She believes Asta can stop it, and she's willing to put her life on the line just to show her support. Even though Vanessa's not overly fond of the Witch's Forest, she is still furious to see Fauna and Salamander burning down her former home. Vanessa's fondest memories were those spent with the Black Bulls, being hit on by Finral, laughing at Magna getting bested by Luck, eating with Charmy, and shopping with Asta and Noelle. These happy memories are stark contrast to her childhood, and that is why the Black Bulls are Vanessa's family. This is Originalink. Like and subscribe for more Black Clover content, and until next time, surpass your limits.